Good evening. What's up? It's another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Tears here. Going to do a Dynasty 12-team Superflex startup mock draft tonight. Mr. Revere here, as always, with Brian Bruner and Zach Rom. It's getting kind of late here on a school night, so just going to dive right into this mock draft. No preseason on tonight. You get that 1 or 2 weeks of meaningless preseason games, and then it's gone, and then you're like, man, there's nothing on TV.
Hey, 3 weeks from now, the season starts. That's all I care about. We're almost there.
Real football.
Yep. Sweet.
Right,
We got a bunch of people waiting, so we can go ahead and get started soon. So we got, my name's Romeo Kidd. I'll be drafting from the 9 spot, and you'll be seeing me here. We got Brian Castleblack from the 3, and Patrick is drafting from the 1. Let's get started. Sweet. This will be fun. Seeing what the first 3 picks go. I highly suspect 3 quarterbacks here. It's your flavor between Lamar, Jaden Daniels, and
I'm going Lamar.
Josh Allen. You're liking Lamar here.
Lamar
to start us off.
Yeah, he's a little younger than Josh Allen, believe it or not. I think about 8 or 9 months younger. All right, dude. So he's less than a year younger. Oh boy, but Josh Allen low-key throws a lot of interceptions, and in some leagues that could cost you dearly. And I think Lamar is a more gifted runner. Allen bulldozes better, but I kind of like Lamar in a startup. Slightly.
I get that. And already surprised at 2. I said I was expecting 3 quarterbacks straight off the bat, and we got our wide receiver 1 coming straight off the board.
Yes, sir. So Jamar Chase goes, which is happy news for me. Easy pick of Josh Allen here for me. So let me click on that. So not much thought behind it. Just he's an absolute stud, the most consistent asset in fantasy football, to me, the best asset in Superflex fantasy football. So yeah, getting him there, pretty awesome. I would have been happy to settle for the young stud Jaden Daniels as well, which is who I thought I was going to get all along.
And even a surprise for me, I got 2 surprises. Jaden Daniels usually doesn't fall this far in startup drafts, and we got Hurts. He's been doing very well, and Bijan going at 5. Got some surprise picks, but some studs coming off.
When you're drafting with people that you don't know as well, or you don't draft with all the time, just like in home leagues for redraft, stuff like this happens. You're so used to running mocks just using like Sleeper's ADP or ESPN's ADP, and nobody really goes out of the box. But stuff like this happens, man. So yeah, who you're gonna have multiple people on the board for your pick, Zach, that I'm sure you did not think were gonna be there.
Oh, most definitely. And I'm going to take my quarterback 3 in Dynasty right now. He's underrated, injury-prone, people might say, but he's tied to an incredible offense, and I am ecstatic to be getting Joe Burrow at the 9 spot here.
Hard to complain.
Yeah. For me, the surprise, I was a little surprised Barkley went at the 107. He's a great running back, don't get me wrong, but he's a little on the older side to be taking this early, in my opinion. But really, with a 3rd round reversal, especially that first 3, 4, 5 picks, you just got to get your guys, because you got your first 2 guys that are going to be higher up, and then it favors the back end of the draft coming around. That you got to get your first 2 guys to start us off and go from there.
Looks like our boy Grimlock may not be at keyboard. AFK, they would say. I don't see a green light.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, Sleeper messes up around the turn on mock. So if he doesn't show up, it'll go to auto and be fine from there. But I guess we all went quarterback the first time around. especially you guys at the early part of the draft with this third round reversal, are you sticking with best player available here? Are you initially thinking I'm going to go quarterback, double up here, or I need to, PPR, I'm going to smash a wide receiver here, so I got a top end? Like, what are your thoughts being at the front end of a third round reversal coming around this when it comes back to you in the second round?
One of these picks has to be a running back. I've gone a couple of like not zero RB, but weighted and hoped to get like a James Conner or a Alvin Kamara, thinking, well, they'll get enough catches to offset. It just feels gross if you don't have one of those top 10-ish bell cow backs that are a 3-down back that you could rely on every single week.
Yeah. I'm here in a little bit more comfortable position. Again, I think Burrow fell to me. I love Burrow. I've taken Burrow at the 104, 105 and similar things. So him falling to me at 109, and I'm very happily taking Brian Thomas Jr. as my second. Could have taken Amon-Ra, and he keeps falling, but someone who's going to get a lot of volume, a lot of catches in PPR, I'm happily taking 50-50 between Brian Thomas and Amon-Ra there. Going a little younger just in case. But again, for me, another surprise, Omarion Hampton going at the 201.
Yeah. A little rich for my blood, but he went with the double rookie running back attack there. So
yeah,
that could be like
locked in, hopefully
5 to 7 years of fantasy goodness.
To answer your question you posed there a minute ago, what I'm looking at when I go, stud quarterback early, dealing with the third round reversal, it's all 100% what's on the board when it gets to me. A lot of the time, most of the skill players I like are gone by the time it gets back to me for when I'm mocking or doing a real startup at this point, and I end up just taking my second quarterback. It's not universal though. I really just it changes so much draft to draft that I really don't even look at it like, all right, well, I got Josh Allen here. Now I'm going to lock up this guy or this position because it just varies wildly. I've got 2 picks before it gets back to me. And
who are your top 3 right now you're looking at?
Oh man, I would say if I could pick, like if my pick was on the board right now, I would probably go like Drake London. I couldn't do McBride. It just goes against my religion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like London a lot. I like London and Nico. Nico's probably consensus a little bit higher, but I just think London's a little bit safer, a little less injury prone. And there he goes. I just talked him right off of the board, so that's good.
Yeah.
Gotta love when you do that. Puka, this is late for him. It's definitely, he's a screaming value on the board, but I'm just a little sketchy with Stafford still not practicing, I don't think.
Yeah, and Garoppolo, I think Garoppolo favors Adams over Puka, where granted that could be just this year, but maybe it's next year too. Like Stafford's getting up there, that maybe Adams cuts into Puka for 2 years. And in reality, while people say it's dynasty, there's so much value that is lost in a redraft mindset that if Stafford doesn't start and Garoppolo starts for 5-6 games, Puka drops in value. That if you're looking at a value-wise here, Puka is a little risky.
He's definitely risky. I don't mind spending the full minute talking through my pick here because we're doing a podcast, so let's chat.
Tell us more. What you thinking? Who you deciding?
So the other thing, where earlier in a lot of this offseason now, and because of this, I own a lot of this guy now, but I'm getting gun shy, is Caleb Williams. So many times I started Lamar Allen and got Caleb as my second pick and was like, fuck yeah, I'm locked in. I got the proven stud, the up and coming guy, Ben Johnson coming in. Yeah. And now I'm just hearing nothing but downer reports about Caleb. So I'm going to pass on him. I won't drag this whole thing out to the last second. I'm between Nico and Ladd, and I think I just got to pull the trigger on Nico because I think he's just got another few alpha seasons in him there. So
if he can stay healthy, he's got that stud in him.
When he's on the field and not like dealing with a lingering injury, he's as good as any receiver. Like he just puts up crazy games, and he's a stud. I'm going to take him. I wish it was London, but hey, you can't win them all.
True. Who are your top 2 right now, Patrick? You're coming around. It's another 12 picks. You got Lamar. Who are you looking at here?
Yeah, I'm thinking it was going to be McConkey, so now I'm kind of in the
Oh.
same situation. Nakua's great. I feel like there's going to be the knee jerk. Oh no, there's no Matt Stafford, and you're going to see Nakua slide in drafts, and then all of a sudden Stafford will get that epidural. He'll spring back to life, and everyone will have gotten Nakua at such a discount. And yeah, like Zach just said, sometimes the redraft and dynasty merge too much, and then you make a knee-jerk reaction or you put too much weight into age. I love Marvin Harrison though.
Yeah,
Tough one.
He had a very quiet but great rookie year. Like, look at his numbers. He had almost 900 yards. He had a ton of touchdowns. Like, he did much better than what people said. That he's a great foundation to work off of.
He was in some consideration for me, for sure.
I don't. Do I maybe go in another quarterback here? I don't know, but then again, having Adams on the field at the same time can make Nakua more open than ever. I'll go Nakua here.
Puka.
Yeah, hard to not go Puka.
As late as you'll ever see him in a startup draft.
Yeah. Yes.
As of currently, yeah.
Granted, in the first 2 rounds, with how much talent there is, you can't really go wrong. What I'm seeing a lot of people try and trade out of is this 3rd round zone. Is there's so much, you could say, question marks on these next round of players. Like the first, you could say 20, 24 players, are your studs. Like, if you look at the first 2 rounds, the players you're looking at with some question marks, you got Amari Hampton and Genty just because they're rookies. You have like A-Chain and Nico that have some injury problems. But other than that, like, you're looking at players that you can build your foundation on in the first 2 rounds. And then once you start getting here, you get that Marvin Harrison question mark. Is Cooper Kupp going to cut into JSN's time? What's happening with Caleb Williams? Like, you're getting a lot of question marks where people almost rather trade back into the 4th or 5th and get some extra draft capital than pick in this 3rd, from what I'm hearing and seeing so far.
When it gets, I fully agree with you. And when it gets to this time of the draft, 3rd round, I call it a huge flat tier. I look at these guys so similar in value. It's just like a kind of pick your flavor, or, pick based on your first 2 picks. You might need to, draft in a different direction from there. But when I have people trying to send me out, like if I get offers in this range and someone really wants to get a guy in this 3rd round, I am so happy to move down to take, his later in this round pick, or like his 4th and 6th, and I give him like a super late or something along those lines, because these few rounds are super interchangeable in value. And if you could, finesse your way into like two higher picks for just 1 in this round, well, not 2 higher, but you know what I mean, 2 maybe 4th and 6th or 4th and 5th, and I'm not falling apart if I don't draft any of these guys that are going in the next 12 to 15. Like, they're great. You want them on your team. They're high value, but shit, there's so many of them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at ADP, but for my pick right now, Josh Jacobs is after ADP is after my next pick. You got Baker, T. Higgins. Like, there's a massive tier break here that it's really who you want to pick. And I'm going to go quarterback here. I know I'm higher on this player than so many other people, but I'm taking Justin Herbert here. And I think he's a steal in the early 3rd round. I think he should be going about 6 to 8 picks earlier, in the extent that he had a great rookie year, sure. And he's been in that high teen, I say high teens, low teens, that 10 to 14 quarterback range. But in the extent of, he hasn't had great weapons. He had an old Keenan Allen and an injured Mike Williams for a while. He had Ladd McConkey last year, but they ran, I think, the 6th or 7th least number of offensive plays. And then the Chargers go, okay, we need to fix this. They get Omari Hampton. They get Trey Harris. They bring back Keenan Allen. I think Herbert easily scores in the top 10 of quarterbacks this year. I think he's going to jump some in value. That, for me, it's a value pick. That, yeah, there's a big tier of players here, but Herbert's towards the top of that for me. That I want to secure my quarterback 2 here and now.
You get to have that warm, fuzzy feeling now of QB1 and QB2 are just locked and loaded. Just have fun picking skill guys. It's you got to have 2 in Superflex, man. I mean, you don't have to. I've seen it. We've all seen it where a guy with Joe Flacco and whoever, Geno Smith, wins the title because he just was completely locked up with stud after stud in every other spot. But that is, as someone who plays in an obnoxious amount of leagues and they're all Superflex, that is much more the exception than the rule. The team that wins the title and has the great record and gets the first round bye and does all that usually has a superstar and a pretty damn good second, if not 2 superstars at quarterback. So,
yeah, we're looking at 3 teams already through the 3rd round without a single quarterback. And right now, which quarterback left on the board are you comfortable as your quarterback 1 for your championship roster? Like Baker, maybe Purdy. Like there's so many question marks on these guys. I'm happy to have that second quarterback sitting here pretty.
Yeah, I think Baker's still pretty set with all those weapons around them. It sounds like Godwin's struggling, but if Godwin's struggling to get back on the field, they have Igbuka, who is already his value has risen
drastically,
much higher than I think most would have expected. I don't want to speak it into existence because it's a couple of teams. I don't think Brian's going to take him, but
yeah. What you think, Brian?
Man, I torn a lot of different ways. Now it's a full round later. Caleb Williams is still sitting there.
Yeah.
There's certainly plenty of promise. I don't like a lot of the reports coming out now, but the dude is just flush with weapons. He's got the hot young new coach that has been the envy of the league for the last few years. He's appealing. Stroud is actually a little appealing to me because I took Nico and you get the stack. I think Stroud has nowhere to go but up. Had the very promising rookie year, and it was, I don't want to call it a disaster last year, but it was just a big disappointment for fantasy. So I don't think anybody thinks that Stroud forgot how to play quarterback, that he's on the verge of getting replaced on the Texans. They just drafted him some new weapons. Man, I'm not a huge Stroud guy. The thing pushing me away from Stroud or Caleb with these guys a little bit is I look at a lot of these quarterbacks as a flat tier. So I'm almost wanting to roll the dice on 2 skill guys and just take another decent guy who's a fine QB2 later. So that all being said, I think this is tough. You know what? I'm gonna go a little bit. Fuck it. I'm gonna go safe. I'm gonna take Stroud. I'm gonna get the stack. Get that locked in, safe young quarterback to go with Josh Allen. Pair him up with my my alpha wide receiver and hope for the best.
Yeah, and like if I'm in your position, I'm probably going Stroud or Williams too. I mean, the 2 big things to know when you're drafting is do your best to know your league mates. Know if your guy at the 4 spot loves Hurts, that Burrow might fall, or if you don't know your teammates, you can't assume the first 3 are going to be Jackson, Allen, Daniels, as you can see here. Like, don't assume if you don't know your league mates, but also like look around. If I'm in your spot there, I see someone have 2 picks next to me that doesn't have a QB, so he's probably going to take 1. You see Patrick, who probably wants another QB with Jackson, maybe because of injury concern. I'm taking my QB2 there and taking a skill position on the way around to secure a better quarterback rather than waiting and seeing who falls to me.
And down, that side of the board, there's multiple teams that have no quarterback yet and a couple that only have 1, or, a couple that only have 1. So there could easily be multiple teams that on the turnaround that way that double dip on quarterback, and then I could be looking, real suspect at quarterback too. So I don't be the first to say I don't love that Stroud pick, but I'm good with it. I'm happy that I took it.
Yeah, when you're sitting around at your draft, look over for the guy that has a magazine and like try to pick near him or trade with him or something. I'm really glad that Williams is still here. Makes me feel a lot better to have 2 QBs. And I wasn't a believer during the offseason or late last year, but I'm all in on Bucky Irving. And I didn't want to have to go Irving Baker. I think a quarterback receiver stack is a lot better than a quarterback running back stack. And like Zach said last round, this third or fourth round, it almost feels like a dead zone. There's just a little bit of a flaw, either a little nagging injury or they were a little too old. It's like a new car that just did lose that last hint of new car smell. Like, it's still great, but it lost a new car smell, and then a friggin' shopping cart hits it in the parking lot, and they're like, oh my god, and then it feels like the shine or the luster just starts to trickle off a little bit. And so yeah, I'm gonna call this the 3-4 feels like a new dead zone of sorts, but gotta get seemingly a bell cow here with Bucky Irving right there.
Yeah. Irving concerns me a little. We talked a little some just because his snap percentage just wasn't there at all last season. He was very efficient with it, but yeah, that concerns. But again, there's so many question marks for all these players here that it's choose your flavor.
All right, so my boy Johnny Taylor went. You guys know I do like him a lot. I would not have minded him as a 1 year to 2 year rental as my bell cow RB1. Where my mind's at is I'm definitely not drafting a third quarterback this high, so that's out. I could to just kind of piss the league off, and I will quarterback hoard once in a while, usually if it's like a league with strangers, but I wouldn't do it just to screw up the mock. So quarterback's out. Looking at running backs, Hall has downward arrows. It seems weird what's going on there. I do like him as a player, but lots of talk of committee and stuff like that, so I don't want to take him there. Kyron just got the bag, so that's appealing. He's on the stud offense. They just love him there. Kyron is definitely appealing, but here's where I'm looking at this, that it's a dynasty league and not a redraft. I've got a rookie running back just tempting the shit out of me here that I could have for long term, and boy has he looked explosive in the preseason and
he has
so far. So, and I also heard a great team name for him on, I forget which, I think it might have been the CBS pod, Travion, my wayward son. So there we go. We're going.
I like it.
Travion, and I think he has so much fucking potential to just be a Jahmyr Gibbs type, explosive as hell. Certainly not bell cow workload, at least from the start, but I think that kid's pretty special, or going to be special. So if you're going to spend high capital on a running back in a startup mock draft, let's have him be real young and be shit. He was the top running back prospect in the country going into college, and didn't do much to let that down in college. So Travion it is.
Yeah, great pick. Part of me was hoping he would fall to me, but I knew he wouldn't. And just briefly, we didn't quite go over it. We're looking at a start 10 league here. So we got a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flex, and another in a super flex spot. So there is some, with PPR, there is some emphasis on wide receiver over running back, just with 3 wide receiver and PPR. But really, you saw so many wide receivers go in the first 3.5 rounds, and now so many running backs have gone. I'm here like, I'm hoping to get one. And when I'm looking at my spot, my next pick coming up, I see someone took Gibbs, someone took Genty and Hampton. I would love to take another running back here, but I almost, depending on who's available, I could go another wide receiver, knowing probably 1, maybe 2 running backs are going to go before my pick in the 5th round, that I might be able to squeeze out some more value if I go a wide receiver here. And again, this is one big zone. Hall's falling some. You got Age and McCaffrey and Henry. Judkins just went in the 4th. We just saw that he's not getting charged for anything, so I can understand that pick. So right now it's, do I hope Hall bounces back? Do I go with an oldie and Henry or McCaffrey to kind of hold my fort down? Rice is going to be suspended. It's, again, a lot of interesting spots. Does James Cook do well? He just got the bag, but does he have touchdown regression this year? It's a very difficult spot. PPR makes me want to lean wide receiver, but I'm okay waiting on them, so I'm going to go running back here. I personally, for PPR, just because it's PPR, I'm going Breece Hall here. I know he's fallen some, but Hall had a ton of receptions last year. He's going to run the ball well with Justin Fields there. I think the Jets were 32nd in rushing attempts last year because whenever they had a hint of problems, Aaron Rodgers just said mine and took the ball. That I think it's going to be a lot more even. That sure, some of the Jets other running backs might be a handcuff and take some workload from Hall, but that just means come the 8th, 9th round, I get that guy and I'm going to be good.
Yeah. Do not disagree, my friend.
And maybe, again, it's not a great spot for wide receivers. I can pick up some good wide receivers come around my next picks that right now I can take Henry or McCaffrey next pick and have a strong vet to hold my running back room down with Hall in case Hall doesn't go. And we just saw 4 quarterbacks go, as you talked about a quarterback run coming soon and 2 wide receivers. I'm sitting here happy deciding I think I'm going Henry. I think the value is probably with James Cook, to be honest, for Dynasty. Like if you look at Henry versus James Cook for the sake of Dynasty value, I think most people would take James Cook. But with my risk in taking Hall, I want someone in the running back position that can score me points. Thus, I want Derrick Henry over James Cook in that situation.
Someone's going to take those older players. They'll get points, not for long, but they're going to get a lot of points for a long time. For a lot of points for the last 2-3 years of their career.
And Cook goes directly after.
Yep. Yeah, we're looking at 2 teams without quarterbacks. This one, we got one here. Maybe he takes McCarthy. It's an interesting spot of, again, a little bit of a dead zone of what type of risk are you taking? Are you starting to take your wide receiver 2s with Rome Odunze and Devonta Smith? Are you starting to take a tight end here or a risky quarterback? Like, I'm looking at 107, Barkley, Amon-Ra, McMillan, Brown, taking McCarthy. I'm not loving the Barkley pick going with that because you're going with a lot of young guys that aren't proven. Sure, Chase Brown did great, but is he going to keep that up? McCarthy's unknown. McMillan's unknown. Like, are they going to go this year? Are you going to waste Barkley a little? I would have liked to have seen a little more, maybe a little older assets or someone to help compete now with that. But if McCarthy does well and with the Vikings, as I know you believe he will, Patrick, it's a great start for him.
Or if Barkley's having a great year, he could flip him to a contender for hopefully a couple good pieces. His team's not as young as tier 1 QB at the end there. I don't think that lineup is going to shave for 3 years.
I was going to bring his up. That's a young team.
I don't think any of them can rent a car.
Someone should go have the birds and bees talk with Team 12. Holy shit. But hey, man, I know so many people that play Dynasty that way that, they come out of the draft with legitimately nothing but like rookies and second-year players. And, the one thing you can say about that is that those players are wanted by everybody. You could trade, you can be as flexible as possible when you draft super young like that because you can dance with everybody else in the league as a trade partner. When the opposing side is when you draft that super old Derrick Henry loaded up old guy team, Devontae Adams and stuff, you have about 3 other teams in the league that you could possibly have any business interaction with. So there's lots of ways to build a dynasty team for sure.
Exactly.
So with all my checks, let's see, I'm on the board. The 2 guys that I wanted the most just came off in front of me. My Slim Reaper, Devontae Smith, and the super mega camp hype Emeka Ibuka gone, double snipe right in front of me. So that being said, looking at wide receiver, I don't really like it at all. Highest up on the board is Rashee Rice. All kinds of question marks. We've got Roma Dunze, who highly touted, but in that messy, cluttered offense, I mean, this is probably good value for him, but not somebody I want to bank on as my wide receiver too. Scary Terry, I love, but man, he's fucking holding out, and God knows what's going to happen there. Next receiver on the board is Zay Flowers. Low volume passing offense. He seems to just get to 1,000 and maybe 60, 70 catches every year. Not that rock I want as my wide receiver too. So guess who's next? Who is it? It's my boy. How am I going to gas up DJ Moore this much and not just take him to go with Nico Collins as my wide receiver too?
That's exactly what I thought you'd take.
I have the faith. I usually go in for him. I don't mind him at this cost at all. Maybe that was a round reach. Probably was, but didn't want to risk it. And as I said, all those wide receivers ADP ahead of him, I don't like as much as DJ Moore.
Yeah, and again, when you're looking at this, if you don't like tight end, Laporta, Warren, Kittle come off the board. If you don't need a quarterback, you don't really need Lawrence or Goff. That's a good quarterback 2 for a competing roster. Sometimes a quarterback 1 that you have Stroud and Allen. You don't necessarily need that. All of a sudden, you're looking at those wide receivers you mentioned or running backs. And are you going to take Harvey, Walker, Caleb Johnson? A lot of rookies here that you took Henderson, but not looking nearly as good as what Henderson has been. DJ Moore is a strong piece there for you to take.
And you got to start 3. That matters.
Yes.
If you start 2 wide receivers, I was much more likely to go probably running back there. But because you got to roll 3 out, I definitely wanted to get one in. And Moore, I think he's just locked in for volume. What happens with that volume, who knows? Last year he had 99 catches, but he only had like 990 yards or something like that. I'd like to believe that that's going to get better this year with Ben Johnson and more weapons around him. So lock him up with Nico. DJ Moore is the definition of a wide receiver too to me. So fits with my brand for sure.
Yep.
Well, at this range, I feel like you're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling so far because tight ends, as you discussed a couple weeks ago, aren't the best value after the Bowers, McBride tier. There's a lot of running backs that aren't a bell cow, or injury concerns, or age, and I already have 2 quarterbacks, so you just find yourself scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. If it's a dynasty startup, I'm going to go against my usual safe and boring mannerisms. Take Rashee Rice there. He's only going to miss a couple weeks. Hopefully it's right in the middle, gives him a nice extended bye week of sorts. Don't think his value should dip that much in dynasty. And for a second receiver, or should I go? I was tempted to get a long time till I'll be picking again.
It is a long time.
Yeah.
Tough call. Well, I don't think J.K. Dobbins is going to last forever, and I'm a homer, so I'll snag some R.G. Harvey and hope for the best. Hopeful Sean Payton knows what he's doing. He'll get Harvey involved. I was really hoping he had that backfield to himself. I don't think Dobbins will be around for that long, 10 games max.
Yeah, I don't think Dobbins really cuts into Harvey's value much at all. You did see Harvey's value drop, but I didn't agree with that. So I do like that pick there. And as you mentioned, Rice, even if he gets suspended 6 to 8 games, the Chiefs back half of the schedule looks pretty easy. That he's going to easily slide back in, have plenty of time to get going. That, yeah, his value shouldn't drop enough to warrant him dropping further than the 512.
So that Kittle pick was a fucking dagger.
Yeah.
I am not a big tight end guy, but Kittle's a rock star. Kittle actually matters in any warp, in any league, in any format. He's a fucking stud.
He's a big wrestling guy.
Almost a huge wrestling fan like myself. I was actually kind of surprised he was there. I wasn't even thinking about it, and I was like, "Holy shit, he's still available." So yeah. Anyway, that sucks. Great pick, number 2. Good job. Well done. With him off the board, I'm scrambling a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of any of these running backs to take over some of the receivers on the board. Of the receivers on the board, you still got Terry, you still got Rome. I'm not going to draft Rome to go with DJ Moore. That doesn't make any sense. Flowers is fine as a receiver 3. I have a lot of Flowers, and he seems to be a bit of a letdown every year, so I'd like to avoid that. What I'm going to do for my receiver 3 is a guy who just looks like another alpha, could be mega targeted, could be top 5 in the league in targets and touchdowns. DK Metcalf. Rodgers' big weapon. He just blinder targets his top guy. There ain't shit there after Metcalf other than Jonnu Smith and the running back. So to start with 2 quarterbacks high, to have Josh Allen and Stroud, and to have a receiver room of Nico, DJ Moore, Metcalf, I fucking love that for my 1, 2, 3. And I get to stack with Nico and Stroud. That's cool. And I still have Travion, exciting rookie running back, so I'm not just completely punting on the running back position. So digging the start so far. Really would have loved to have Kittle there, though. That fucking sucked, man. That was like, I didn't know the rest of the board forgot about him too, but they didn't.
Yeah, really looking at the warp charts, it's the top 3 tight ends that really make a difference. And after that, it falls off hard. That I'm fine waiting to round 10 to 12 to really take a running back or take a tight end, and that's it. So yeah, I think Metcalf is being underrated. I think he's going to get so many targets from Rodgers that's I think going to be a value pick come mid-season.
Just got the old to use NBA terminology, the Supermax contract too. They gave him many years in the bag, so he's locked in there.
Yeah. Now here I'm looking at again, a lot of these players are kind of falling down. You're looking at a lot of wide receiver 2s on their teams, 3, some old guys. You got Golden down here, Kamara, Hawkinson, Hubbard, to some rookies up here. Warren keeps falling down. You got Caleb Johnson here. I'm going to go a little against the grain, thinking everything's going to work out fine. He's going to continue going next year. He's not quite old, but he's someone that's older. I'm taking Terry McLaurin here. I think he's going to do great. I think him to be my wide receiver 2 to pair with Brian Thomas Jr. Sure, Terry McLaurin only has Deebo Samuel to fight targets for the most part. That Deebo hasn't really been too healthy. And I highly suspect McLaurin's contract situation got figured out. In PPR, McLaurin's going to get so many targets. I'm happily taking him here.
If he wasn't holding out, he would have been picked probably 2 rounds ago.
And who knows? Tomorrow it might be everything gets figured out and we're good to go.
Team 12 keeping it barely legal with a 3rd quarterback, and Bryce Young he can't be 25 yet. He's 24 still. So yeah, man. Look.
Bryce Young is 24 still.
Yo, my man is keeping it in his comfort zone. So yeah, honestly, whatever direction you're going, we talked about episode 1, man. Whatever direction you're going in, fucking go in that way. If you're going to draft Young, he's not going to start drafting fucking crusty old vets at this point.
Except he took Mike Evans, so he took a crusty old vet.
Wait. Okay, I did not see the Mike Evans pick. My God. Okay, I sorry. Tier 1 QB. I apologize. I don't know direction you're going in, but hey, Mike Evans is value at this round.
Yeah, and here I'm looking at again. A lot of these players you could say are falling, but we got one giant tier in the third round, kind of starting the 4th, and in reality, the 5th round to the 7th round, to some extent, can be one giant tier of choose your flavor and such. And so I'm here looking at Do I want to go wide receiver of Flowers, Addison, Pickens, Golden, or do I want to wait some? And I'm pretty comfortable with my knowledge of wide receivers that I can wait and pick a good wide receiver 3 and some to come off the bench coming off. So I'm good waiting there. I'm looking at quarterbacks here. Justin Fields, Dark, Tua, Sam Darnold. Like, I don't really want to take my quarterback 3 here yet. And we talked about the tight end position. So I'm looking at running backs here. Again, we're looking at PPR. The scoring isn't quite accurate. Unfortunately, with mocks, you can really only do super flex or PPR. You can't do both. So this isn't necessarily PPR scoring. But I'm looking here at who's a great PPR monster that I can have on my team that'll be here for a while. And really kind of 2 names are sticking out. And I'm going to go with the proven vet. I'm going to go Kamara here. I know he's older. I know he's injury prone. I don't even know. I mean, he's 30 years old, but in PPR, he's caught so many balls. You're looking at his lowest being 64 targets with an average of what looks like probably 90 targets a season. And that's with some injury ridden seasons. And their QB is Shuck, who's probably going to dump it off a lot. I'm happily taking Kamara there, if only for 2 years. And maybe I'll get his backup that was just drafted and get Devin Neal in the 12th to 14th round, something later on, and happily have both of them. Do that same thing with Hall and Kamara there later on. But I was also looking at Swift. I think the Bears offense is going to come around. But yeah.
I was really hoping for Pickens when he came back. I was hoping enough people were scared off by his shenanigans and being second fiddle to Lamb now, but I think this time next year Pickens might be a full round or 2 ahead.
Yeah.
Love the Kamara pick. 6-month windows, buddy. 6-month windows. You draft Kamara now, see what happens this year. If you're riding him to the title, great. If the team stumbles a little bit, you fucking sell him to a contender, get a pick back. Kamara, I would have broke my screen drafting Kamara if he got to me at this next pick. So
yeah,
well done, sir.
And at worst, Kamara becomes my running back 2, and Breece Hall drops to my flex spot. If Hall doesn't really live it up, that I had that flexibility now, and I'm probably going to look at smashing double wide receiver in the 8th and 9th, and look at quarterback in the 10th to 12th, depending on kind of how the draft board is going so far, and be happy where I'm sitting.
All right, so Jerry Jeudy goes right in front of me. That was not a sniper move. I do like Jeudy, but I would not have taken him there, given I already have 3 wide receivers locked up. Looking at the other wide receivers, man, Flowers is still there. At this point, I'm feeling like that's like to have him as my 4 in a 3 receiver league. That's pretty comfy and cozy. Nice warm feelings there. Tight end, I'm looking at these guys. Even Laporte is tempting, but these guys are all just a big giant jumble of dudes that aren't really going to matter for my team overall when you look at the real numbers and the data. So I would like to get a second running back. The guys on the board, none of them sexy. I mean, you wait this long on your second running back, they're not going to be sexy. Kamara was sexy. That was fun. I missed out on that. Good job by you. Monty, Pacheco, DeAndre Swift, Connor, not really cutting it for me. I do have 2 quarterbacks already, but I love locking up a third. You got Dart, Tua, Darnold, Richardson, Geno, Stafford, none really long. I mean, Dart you could say is potentially long-term. You throw him on your taxi squad potentially. But do I want to take him over one of these guys? I don't think so. I think what I want to do is take Flowers. I just think that's crazy value at this point. To have him as my 4, Lamar's, number 1 receiver, potential top target. Once Andrews is out of there, he's probably already the top target. So,
yep. I don't know
of need, but
Lamar loves himself some Mark Andrews.
He does. Target wise, I don't think Andrews is commanding what he used to. None of them do. He just spreads the ball around. They run a lot.
Yeah.
Derrick 500 touches again. So, but as my full,
I mean, Rashad Bateman was flex play worthy last year. That's how much Lamar spread the ball around.
Right.
What's your thoughts on these next two picks, Patrick? For you, talk about it while he's picking.
Well, there's 4 awesome tight ends right at the top there.
Yeah.
The warp charts really opened my eyes to. I was always like, if you talked to me 6 weeks ago, I'd smash Laporta and maybe even Warren, but I'd take at least one of them, but not right now. I think it's once you have your 2 quarterbacks, it's running back and receiver for the next few rounds. I'd almost go a third quarterback over a tight end if you're not getting Bowers and McBride. Going against my usual grain here and take a little more risk adverse, living on a limb this mock draft. I got 2 players in mind. Wonder unless I get sniped. I might get sniped by this pick here as it's ticking down.
Yeah.
You can only snipe yourself when you're picking at the turn, Patrick.
Picking 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Quarterback. All right.
Understand the Stafford pick. That's his quarterback 2. So you got to secure that for sure in a super flex league.
Yeah. Well, I wrote an article on him being a breakout earlier this year. Then he went and got suspended 3 games. So I may as well just go back to back on the receivers missing a couple games. Addison's only missing 3 right off the bat. On an island of my J.J. McCarthy trutherism, I think he's going to be awesome. Only missing 3. Rice is missing more, but once they're on the field, hopefully, week 8 or something on, playoffs on, they're awesome. Addison's been a top 20, been a wide receiver 2 both of his years in the league. And then, like we've said, some of the players all in this range have a blemish. They're old, they're injured, they're unproven, like Skatibo or Loveland or Warren. And with that being said, if it wasn't for Egbuka, I think one of the more exciting rookie receivers this year is Jaden Higgins. So I like that receiver core. Might have reached the form a little bit, but he's probably a top 3 to 4 receiver from this class.
Oh, for sure. I got Higgins as my wide receiver 4. I got my wide receiver model. Tier 1 is an elite prospect. Tier 2 is a strong prospect with elite upside. Higgins teeters back and forth, and I took the jump and said he'd be tier 1. He'd be a great one, and he already solidified himself as a wide receiver 2. Nico's hasn't played a full season. I love that pick. And sure, you're looking at Rice and Addison who are going to be suspended, but Addison's for 3 games, the first 3 games, and Rice won't be for the first 3 games. So if anything, you can flip-flop them in your starting lineup until you get both of them back. And so you're looking at Higgins as your wide receiver 3 for half the season while those flip-flop, and then all of a sudden you got one of them moves to your flex. That's looking pretty.
I like it.
Sutton is a great pick here.
I was going to fucking take Sutton, man. I'm getting just rocked.
Yeah. No,
right,
Sutton's a great pick. I mean, you're looking at some again, iffy wide receivers coming here of who you're taking next. But Sutton was almost the one of, if the last one of your older wide receivers that's going to do great for you.
Yeah, was thinking Sutton there. I was going to say, we did also specify, we didn't say it out loud, I don't think, but this is not tight end premium. So
Correct.
There's also no rushing bonus for running back. So this is just a vanilla PPR league. So in said leagues, wide receivers run the world. They are the most important position. So I'm generally going to want good wide receivers through the 3 wide receiver spots, good wide receivers through the flex. So that's why I was really feeling like Sutton was going to be a nice ass dude to put in that second flex spot. So that being said, I'm not as in love with any of these receivers. Pearsall is a little tempting. Waddle, as much as I've been burned by him, he's definitely a little bit tempting.
Yep.
Still need that second running back. I don't fucking like much of any of these guys. It's a big flat tier, so I think I can look at the next dozen running backs, and I'm fine with any of them as my 2. So I fuck tight end again. I'm just gonna pass again because Laporta and Warren, Loveland, Hawk are sexy, but nah, I'll pass. So I think what I'm gonna do here for my wide receiver 2 is go with a guy who's probably the one on his team now by default, and that's Tricky Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go there.
I like
I
it.
think it's killer value this late.
Yeah, and in a normal league, these tight ends aren't falling this far. We're drafting with a lot of other the fantasy holic admins and such, where a lot of them are listening and kind of understand that warp chart and really follow that, you could say. So in reality, in a normal startup, Laporta's not fallen to the 8th round.
No,
That's more knowing your league mates. Like, we know that tight ends are going to fall a ton, whereas in normal leagues, Laporta is going to go 3-4 rounds earlier.
Yep. I honestly, with as much as I say fuck tight end, like I was even considering Laporta there just because of how late it is. I mean, this is silly value, but again, I want good wide receivers all the way through the wide receiver spots and the flex spots. So
Yep.
wanted
And
something there, but I'll take Ricky.
usually I'm the exact way. I've been burned a little too many times with not drafting running backs. I love the wide receivers. Like, I'm wide receiver 1 room. I love them. What I've been noticing, and we've been doing a lot of mocks with our fantasy hug groups, is that running backs tend to get more scarce and more up in the air and unknown later on. Like you said, the next 12 running backs, you could take any of them and you don't care. So I've been moving to running backs earlier because of that and getting some wide receivers later. Like right now, you can see so many running backs here at the top of the ADP because who knows what's happening. Whereas now I'm looking at my wide receiver 3. I'm looking at Ayuk, who's injured, Reed, who I don't quite trust, Trey Harris, who I love, but with Keenan Allen going there, I can wait a little more. Honestly, it's a very tough spot as to where and who I'm picking here. Looking at my team, I want to compete a little. I know who's behind me. We've had so many wide receivers taken off the board. This is a very tough spot. I'd almost try and trade back if this was a normal league. I think I'm still going to go with my gut. I'm not going to be starting him on a weekly basis, but I'm still taking my guy Trey Harris here because it's Dynasty. I'm not picking him to start. He's going to be on my bench. I'm going to take other guys later on that would start above him. But from a value standpoint, Keenan Allen is so old that sure, Trey Harris's value is going to go down a little because of Keenan Allen this year. But once Keenan Allen retires, Trey Harris is wide receiver 2. I got the Harris Herbert stack. I'm happy with that. And it doesn't quite mesh with Kamara, Henry, McLaurin, but you can get a lot of those competing assets later on to really help your team that in my opinion, I can afford to take Trey Harris here, that if Keenan Allen gets injured, which he's very likely to, Trey Harris might be able to slide up into my flex.
In a dynasty league, there is never anything wrong with having a surplus of younger wide receivers with good draft capital. They are one of those assets that are just completely liquid, and everybody in the league will trade for them. So yeah, man. And I know that that's your boy. All the research, your gut loves him. Keenan Allen is old. He's there, but he's old.
Yeah.
Remember that the Adam Sandler movie Big Daddy? His girlfriend leaves him for that super old guy.
Yep.
And he's like, "You're dating this guy?" She's like, "Yeah. He's got a 5-year plan." He's like, "What is it? Not die?" That's Keenan Allen, man. Like he's
Yeah.
there. He'll get some targets this year, but Trey Harris could have a long, fruitful relationship with Justin Herbert. So good on you, mates.
Cool.
I
Yeah.
guarantee you, every time Keenan Allen gets up, he makes some sort of noise like,
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, I hurt that fucking quad in Chicago last year. It was cold.
I'm going to reach a little with this pick, but I'm happily going to do it because I don't trust he's going to make it back to me. I'm taking Calvin Ridley.
Great pick.
I think Ridley is going too far down in drafts, dynasty and redraft. I mean, you look at, let's look, who else is going to fight for targets against Ridley with Cam Ward this year? You got Alec Eumanor, who was drafted in, I don't even remember which round. He was drafted later on. You got Tyler Lockett, who was a shell of himself from what you saw happening in Seattle. You got Dyke. You got Restapro, who was undrafted or 7th round, one of the two. Like, in reality, Ridley is the alpha there that I would be shocked if he does not hit 150 targets, if not close to 175 with Cam Ward. That I think Ridley is. I'm slotting Ridley as my wide receiver 3 and dropping Harris to my bench, and I'm happy with that.
Just so we don't get in any trouble with the LGBTQ community, that's Chamare DK is the other receiver there in Tennessee. Chamare DK for the win.
Pronunciation.
I'm dyslexic, so I cannot read or say words. I remember we did our wide receiver episode, and someone afterwards said they wanted to strangle me every time I tried to say Egbuka's name because I said it Mbuka, not I said with an M, not a G. So I apologize. I'll say that every episode because I was a teacher for a little while. I did not try and say last names specifically because I would butcher them.
Were you like that Key and Peele skit?
Yes.
Hey, Ron.
That's
hey, Ron.
That is me. So yeah, I apologize for here and for the future if I mess up any names because I can't read or say them to save my life.
All right. All gravy, my friend. So here we are, back to me. I'm loaded up on wide receivers. I've got my 2 quarterbacks. Still just have the 1 running back. Looking at the running backs that are still on the board.
Yeah, I mean,
almost all of them
were taken since your last pick.
I mean, almost all of them are still there. So, again, prove my point. I would clearly made the right move taking Pearsall there because I didn't miss out on jack shit at running back. So I'm glad about that. Looking at tight end, still no. I'm looking at everybody that fits on the screen of my other tablet here, and I'm okay with all of them as my starting tight end. So pass there. Receiver, this would be a bench receiver for me, but there's multiple receivers that I like, so that's a strong possibility. Running back, again, flat tier. I know I should get a couple of them because you need to build a running back room for a dynasty team, but oh man, all that just to say that I think I want to. I love getting a third quarterback, and I feel like if I let it go all the way back down and back again, I legitimately won't have a third quarterback. It might be, me drafting some backups, hoping to cover bye weeks. So I could go Darnold, I could go Geno. They're the safest of the bunch. AR, and then hope I get Daniel Jones later, but I think they're both.
No, don't do that.
Oh, fuck. All right, so you know what? The receivers are still the best players on the board.
Yeah, they are.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Chris Godwin. I think my man did not, suffer a career-ending injury. It wasn't even an ACL. He had a weird broken leg bone type of thing. Godwin hasn't been a big injury bust guy for the majority of his career. He's been very healthy. He was literally the wide receiver 1 until he got hurt last year. Him and Baker have a vibe. He can go ahead and be my my next man up in my all-important receiver room.
Yeah, I like that pick. People are fading him because he's injured, but as you mentioned, he's on your bench. That's an amazing pick that you have the ability to wait for him to get back. And you don't need to crush
What was-
running back.
And what was I passing on? I'm passing on this big, flat, yuck tier of running backs. I'm passing on a big mid tier of tight ends. I'd like to get a quarterback 3, but I just brought up the names. None of them. I'm not going to win my league because Stroud got hurt and I slid fucking Geno Smith in there.
Exactly. There's a quarterback 3 is a luxury. Kind of the idea of what I've heard and what I believe is the earlier you take your quarterbacks, the later you take your backup quarterbacks. So you're looking at us who took, quarterbacks rounds 1 and 3. We can wait later to take our quarterback 3. Whereas these teams that took quarterbacks later, you're looking at the 2 slot with Prescott and Stafford looking to take a quarterback 3 much sooner because of that. But your skill players are better. Same thing, with slot 11 with Purdy and then taking Tua, probably going to have to take another quarterback soon because of that. So it's really your flavor in that. But the earlier you take your quarterbacks, the later you take your backup. So you're more than okay here passing on that.
All right, well, I'm up at the turn again, and the theme of this draft for me has been maybe having a different mindset. A player that I've never, ever liked, looked deeper into stats this year and said, yeah, I was wrong. Needing one of the last running backs that might have the backfield to himself, DeAndre Swift. He hasn't finished lower than running back 23 in his career. I couldn't believe it. I think Roschon Johnson is going to get phased out less and less.
He was never phased in to begin with.
No. Never phased in. He's might be handing out waters on the bench. I like Swift. Reunited with Ben Johnson. They were together a couple years in Detroit. I think Swift was in the 18 to 20 range with Ben Johnson at the helm. And there's a lot of good running backs here. I feel like I need more than 3 that'll barely get me through some bye weeks. From a player I never really liked to a player I've always loved, like a name brand Alvin Kamara, is James Conner. He gets so many catches, and the guy is just plays with so much heart. Feel like he's one of the safer 2 to 3 year window players here. I get some more pass catching roles, and I think played the most games of his career last year. So I like Connor this late.
Top 2 players in my queue, Patrick. So good job and fuck off.
Yeah, I like those 2 running back picks. Like the Swift did great with the Eagles when they had a strong offensive line for him, and the Bears just improved their offensive line. They got the receiving threats that people can't really crowd the box. That's a great pick. And Connor is, he's always injured. He doesn't play a full season, but when he plays, you need him in your lineup.
Yeah, and I almost took ETN in the Connor spot. I can't believe that ETN is going to lose touches to Bigsby and Tootin. I've said that in the running back show. There's no way Travis Etienne at 26 years old is done. There's no way. I hope not. I've got a lot of Etienne.
I think this dude is just plummeted way too far at this point. We all know he's hurt. Nick Chubb's getting all the run with the ones and Woody Marks and blah, 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 blah. Joe Mixon is just going to, pimp stroll back into the starting role the second he's healthy.
He's not dead yet.
It might take him a couple weeks. At this point, he just immediately steps in right into his bell cow role that he's always had. The dude just is a workhorse. He was similar to Chris Godwin last year, absolutely smashing until more than the halfway point of the season. He was up in the top 2 or 3 overall per game running backs. So I'm going to go ahead and take Joe Mixon. I'm going to piecemeal myself a running back room from this point, obviously. But if I can have Joe Mixon from week 3 or 4 on, just lock him in as my RB1, Travion as my 2. I'll mix and match from this group of bullshit later on. I've got my 2 quarterbacks. I'm just fucking flush with wide receivers, and I'm okay with it. I'd like to have a better running back room overall, but it's Dynasty, man. I'm not going to spend a ton of capital in a startup on running backs. It's just never going to happen for me.
Yeah, I get that, and I like it. Yeah, a lot of people, again, for the Dynasty community, we say we're Dynasty, but so much changes based upon an injury that could take someone out just for 4 games. Like when you're looking at an entire season or even an entire player's career, 4 games isn't much for a Dynasty standpoint. Even if Mixon only has 2 years left, 4 games is not even 25% of what he's playing left. Like you look at 17 games, that's 34 games. He misses 4. You're looking at like an eighth of the games that he's missing from injury just by missing 4 games. Like we need to stop pretending like that's a drastic change in his value if we think he has 2 years left. Like it's not. And it's just the fact that people almost want to move off players sooner rather than later. You don't want to get stuck with someone like that. But if he has 2 years left, missing 4 games is nothing. And this is a great spot to take him at.
6-month windows, my friend. I'm going to get out of him this year, and then I'm going to move on one way or the other. Or just keep him. If he's healthy and smashes the rest of the year, and he's loaded up to be the Texans' RB1 next year, then he can ride out with me another year, man. And what did he cost me? What round are we in? 10th.
Yeah.
People just want to set it and forget it young star. They want a guy that they draft at 21 and they ride him until he's 32. And then just one ding, or they miss 4 games. They miss 4 games at 26. I should probably get rid of him.
Get him the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Washed.
Yeah, so I'm scrolling through the running backs right now because I'm wanting to keep my eye out on Neal and whoever I think is going to be Hall's backup between I even forget the.
It's Braylon.
Braylon Allen, probably.
He's getting all the buzz. He's like right there with like Krusky Merritt right now with like the camp hype freight train.
Yeah, like I'm not wanting to reach on them yet, but I'm keeping my eye out on. Okay, I'm going to add, like, just to make sure, I'm going to add Neal and Braylon Allen to my queue. Looking at ADP wise, probably in 2 or 3 rounds, 3 or 4 rounds, I'll start taking them. But I want to make sure, keep my eye out on those backups. And I'm looking through, and I'm wanting some more wide receivers here. Like, again, your tight ends are falling. You're looking at the quarter running backs that are 50-50, and I'm glad I have my others. But I'm looking at wide receiver here. I really want to pick some. And in this round, you're looking at upside. Who has the upside to really either win you your league or really either raise in value if they're young players. With me going a little older, I'm not looking at Kyle Williams here. I took McLaurin. I'm not looking at Debo. Reed, I don't trust Reed. I don't trust Besh. So I'm looking at Pittman, Kupp, and Diggs here. And really, my gut's telling me to go Pittman. And I think I'm going to go Pittman in the extent of hoping that Anthony Richardson is not the quarterback. That Pittman, with Matt Ryan as a shell of himself and other backups, Pittman did great at a quarterback who could actually just distribute the ball. And we saw Daniel Jones. He could distribute the ball. He's not going to win you games with his arm, but he can distribute the ball to your playmakers. And so I'm hoping that Daniel Jones or whoever that next franchise quarterback, the Colts bring, because it's not going to be either of those, can distribute the ball well enough that Pittman can be a good flex play for me. And I trust him more than any of the other wide receivers there. That I'm happy to take Pittman in the 10th with that potential upside if they can get a quarterback that can just hit the broadside of a barn with the pass.
Pittman has had to endure Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Anthony Richardson, Joe Flacco, Gardner Minshew. Like the struggles he has endured. He had the back injury last year. I couldn't blame him for quitting. I couldn't blame him for just, I'm tired, boss. I want to go home.
Yep.
The old John Coffey. Tired, boss.
Tired, boss.
And the guys I was debating between with Diggs, Kupp, even Mooney, some all made it back to me.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the teams before me, a lot of them went younger. Tier 1 QB went young the first 6 picks. Even IDP Geezer, you know, Neighbors, Lamb, Harrison, Hunter, Odunze. Like, I saw they went very young. That if I was even thinking of it in that standpoint, Pittman was more likely to be picked than any of the others. That Pittman was my play because Kupp, Diggs weren't going to be picked again. And, you know, I'm a Patriots fan. Really, the wide receiver room for the Patriots is wide open. That Diggs, even if it's a year, could do amazing things with Drake May, whereas Kupp is going to fight JSN for slot snaps. That I'm more comfortable taking Diggs there. That if you look at my roster, again, Trey Harris there, it's PPR. I slot Ridley up, and then I can put Pittman or Diggs in for my final flex spot. And I'm happy with that. That if Diggs becomes a bye week or injury player, that's okay with me.
Agreed, man. Diggs is a hell of a pick this late. I almost forget Diggs exists sometimes when you're just deep in the startups and in the mocks. He looked fantastic with the Texans last year. I was rolling him out every week in a wide receiver or a flex spot last year, and he was producing. And he got injured, but by all reports, he's out there running full speed, full practice. You know, is going to be there.
Best shape of his life.
Always best shape is like, oh, that fucking Tyrone Tracy pick, man. I've been getting sniped so hard, man. I've got bullet holes all over me. Oh, all right. So that one stings a little bit. I think it might make this pick a little bit easier for me, though. So tight end fucking sucks. I could care less about it, but I think there's one dude that's got one more big season in him. Let's go.
Oh, that's not who I thought when you said that.
Him in a full PPR league. He finished in a down year. He finished as the tight end 5 last year. Could easily happen again, if not better. He lost like 30 pounds. He's probably going to have a little bit more burst, be a little more agile out there. Let's roll out Big TK. Let's bring all the Swiftie fans onto my side. For me, let's go.
Yeah, I think people think Kelsey finished outside the top 10 of tight ends last year. No, he was top 5. He's still got it in him. That he's being underrated.
He had 90-plus catches last year in a bad year.
Yeah, exactly. He's a great pick at this spot, and that's what I'm looking at soon is a tight end and a backup quarterback. Like we're only doing 15 rounds here, but yeah, that's a good one.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm doing here. Tight end, backup quarterback. Had to quickly scroll past David Njoku and Anthony Richardson here to get them off my screen. Full disclosure, I'd love to go Evan Ingram here, but I'm gonna, for the sake of the viewers, Dynasty startup, Dalton Kincaid. Surely Josh Allen isn't going to throw Khalil Shakir 100 targets again and kind of phase Kincaid out of the game. I mean, he's got to be. If Keon Coleman doesn't turn the page, Kincaid almost has to be like the Kelsey Bowers, the tight end who leads the team in receiving. That'd be awesome if I could get Kincaid in the 11th round of a startup. It probably won't happen that much. If you could land Kincaid in the 11th, that's awesome. And then quarterback I've come around on a lot given the scheme, his offense. Sam Darnold. Maybe the ghosts are gone, and he spent enough time in a great system in San Francisco, Minnesota. Maybe something clicked. Maybe might not be top 10 again this year, but he might not be as putrid as Sam Darnold, Lego Man of old.
Well, I think Sam Darnold fell off come close to playoffs last year, And in reality, with your quarterbacks, you need Darnold for bye weeks and maybe an injury or two in the middle of the season. And that's a great pick for that type of quarterback that you're looking for. You're not taking Sam Darnold as a QB3 if you've taken two quarterbacks later in the draft. Sam Darnold is a perfect QB3 for someone who took Lamar and Caleb in the first 3 rounds.
So I obviously already said it. I have to piece together a running back room in these last few rounds. There's one dude looking at the top 12, 15 available running backs is just a glaring standout as someone that can be an instant week 1 producer for me, and that is J.K. Dobbins. He is looking like he's going to have a pretty solidly split role with Harvey, at least to begin with, maybe even farther, who knows. I'm really just looking at him as like riding out the Mixon injury, which we still don't even know if Mixon's like going to be that hurt or miss that many weeks. So of the group of guys left, there's better long-term assets than Dobbins, but I think Dobbins is an absolute put him in your lineup week 1 and he can get you some points.
When he's healthy, he's going to do good. He has never stayed healthy, but
Nope.
if you only need him for a few weeks,
right,
great pick.
Yeah, so week 1, if I roll out Travion and Dobbins with the lineup I have surrounding them with Kelsey and these quarterbacks and these receivers, I can fuck. Let's go.
Yeah. And I'm getting at a difficult part where if this was a normal Dynasty startup, I'd be looking to trade back from my 12th or 13th pick to get another 14th and something. Because I'm here looking down with ADP, I really want Braylon Allen and Devin Neal just to back up Hall and Kamara. But I don't think both are making it to my 14th round. That I'd taken them in the 14th, 15th. I don't think both are going to be there. So in a normal Dynasty startup, I'd be looking to trade my 12th for, if I could talk to either one of you, if I could say, hey, you want my 12th and my 15th for your 13 and 14 or something like that. So I could come up into this late 13, early 14 range, even if I need to throw a third on or 2/3 or something to not wait. Oh, there's Braylon Allen. Like not wait in hopes that something like that happens. That's what I'd be doing in a normal Dynasty draft. Whereas now I'm probably going to be taking Devin Neal in the 13th round just to make sure that I have Kamara's backup in case he gets injured and such. Like I have no faith whatsoever that Kendre Miller is going to do anything.
No.
That I think it's Devin Neal that's going to be that true backup. That I want to make sure that if Kamara is phased out this year, if he's injured this year, that I have that guy. That this is the point where you want that upside, and Devin Neal secures that handcuff that I want.
So in a different type of handcuff, this crossed my mind when we were talking about drafting third quarterbacks. When you just grabbed Darnold a few picks ago, Patrick. When I take 2 higher end quarterbacks, as we all did this, this draft, round 1 and round 3. I am a little less likely to even take a third quarterback, depending on how the board falls. And what I will do is I will take the backups to those quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Look at, it's kind of a battle between Trubisky and Mike White for the Bills job. I think Davis Mills still is pretty locked in as the Texans backup quarterback. I will grab one, if not both of those guys. I won't do it in a mock with 5 bench spots, but those guys are free. They can be your second to last pick. So
yeah.
If I do that and I have 2 locked in guys and I have both their locked in backups, I don't really feel that bad at all about having, no third starting quarterback, quote unquote, because you still have a quarterback. You're only missing out, 2 weeks and you're putting a wide receiver in the super flex spot. Not the end of the world. I do generally want to have 3 quarterbacks, but I will lock up their backups and kind of take that as like an escape plan to having a third quarterback, so you're not taking the dreaded 0 at your quarterback spot any given week.
No, I like that. And, as soon as they start talking about taking Braylon Allen and Devin Neal, they go back to back here.
Yeah.
Where, again, in a normal league,
watch
I'd be typing, hey, will you take a second for Devin Neal and a third? Or, can I give you a 26 second and a 28 third for Devin Neal and a 27 third or something like that? Like, I really wanted that guy. Like, if he could squeeze some out of me, because, boy, I wish
my go-to would be, so yeah, you had the what was this, the 12-9. I would instantly send that to the Neal or Allen guy, like, hey, you just sniped me. Can I this 12-9 and just anything else?
Yeah, like,
or whatever. Because odds
like
some other players on the board just as much. I don't think these guys are like die-hard fucking Devin Neal truthers.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, can I give you my 1209 and my 13 for that pick in your 15 or something? Like, it's worth for me to pay a little more.
You're 16. Fuck.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah, like, you can squeeze some out of me for those. That's fine, but it's worth it for me to have those backups. That's a little unfortunate for me. So here I'm pivoting. I went Mark Andrews. I think he's going to have he's had underrated years as tight ends. And someone I talked 3 rounds ago that I was considering picking is still here, that I think is great for PPR purposes. I'm smashing Darnell Mooney here. He has had an underrated year last year. Like, if we go back and look at what he did, he was PPR 31. Sure, 31 you could say is not great. If you're saying I'm getting the PPR 31 guy in round 13, he's startable in your flex in round 13. And that was with a Kirk Cousins falling off, that if Penix really picks up here, that could be a great value pick.
Definitely. I think Mooney is dealing with some type of injury where they're not sure when he's going to be ready this year. But
yeah,
we're not talking about somebody that you need to start week 1. Like, this is a young, solid receiver that you now have in a dynasty league. So even if this year is like a lost year, he's not retiring. So yeah, man, solid value this late.
Yep. Yeah. And starting to look at teams, I'll start kind of sliding up and down a little to show where everyone's at. We're looking at the last round or two. I'll give you the big board until my picks back up to really look at. Are there any teams either interesting, how they formed, or kind of like tier 1 QB went very young with everything outside of he went Evans and Montgomery and Engram, but those could be good sells to the right teams later on. Otherwise, very young team, which is always going to have value. You're looking at, you got some very, very interesting teams here.
It's all interesting. I think the thing that I would instantly point out is that we're drafting with a group of people that are all pretty obsessed with this, that know their shit and know what they're doing. I was sniped more times than I want to talk about. So yeah, man, that's everybody's doing their thing for sure. I don't think we could show this whole big board to any group of people that know their shit with Dynasty, and I don't think anybody's going to go, oh man, that one team fucked up or that one team dominated everybody. These drafts play out pretty evenly when you're dealing with sharp people.
If there's one team besides your team looking at right now outside the 14th and 15th round that you're like, I'll take that team instead of my team, if you take your team out of it, what other team are you liking on the board?
Well, it's a lot to take in because you got to look at every position for all of them. But let's see, man. Yeah. I like yours a lot, Zach. The fucking 2 great quarterbacks. You waited on receiver a bit, but you still have some rock solid ones. Your running back room is great, especially with my theory. I mean, shit, dude. Kamara, Henry, all Love it. It'd be cool if you had the backups, but fuck it. Backups are backups. You can just draft other people's backups and then hold them for ransom,
Exactly.
All right, I'm on the board. I got to pay attention to this. Let's see who else. And I'm full disclosure. There's only a couple picks left. I'm literally just taking running backs the rest of the way through to
That's
patch
the
up
way to do it.
the group that I slacked on. I think the next easy one for me is Ramondre. Just lock in that Patriots receiver room or
I like it.
running back room. Boom. There's one box checked every week for me. So done deal there. Ramondre actually looked good in the preseason and camp so far. He's getting outshined by Henderson, of course, but anything you actually dig in and look at Ramondre is that he looks very good and capable too. So lock that up. Easy one for me there.
Yeah. There are two other teams I'm liking here for two different reasons. Although I'll speak in a second after you take your picks, Patrick.
Yeah. Really wanted Ray Davis here. Josh Allen and James Cook can't get like 30 touchdowns a season forever. So, I'll take Garendo. I think whoever opens the season, the 49ers, like the poor 49ers running back room, just snake bit. I know everybody's hoping for a full season of McCaffrey, but I just can't see it happening. That's such a valuable piece to have. And in another ambiguous receiver room, player I didn't know much about coming into the season, but very well may be the second in a up-and-coming offense, Pat Bryant with the Broncos. And Sutton's old. He has had stretches of fairly inconsistent, non-inspiring play. I mean, there's a world in which the wide receiver one spot in Denver could be up for grabs. So Bryant looks really good so far.
Yeah. As I was saying, I think there's two teams I like for slightly different reasons. It's a little outside my comfort zone usually. I'm not a huge Drake May fan, even as a Patriots guy, but I really like JH's team. Some strong wide receivers, strong quarterbacks. And I hate to say it, I love what Tier 1 QB did outside some of those older players, that all those guys are going to have some great value for years to come, that there's so many different directions you can go. And if you could say you could tank or rebuild, quote unquote, for a couple of years, get some early picks, and that team could have a lot of value coming 2 years from now.
Yeah, that's totally a move I'd make. Take all youth, no real injury risk. Oh, that's right up my alley. Tier 1 QB, and I like Derek's team, D-Rock 313, that Daniels, Bowers, Judkins, Pickens, that could be a hell of a core for a very long. I really like that start.
Fair
James
enough.
Cook, got Aaron Jones, only has a couple years, but Aaron Jones isn't dead yet. He looked great last year.
He did.
So I'm gonna throw a wild card here because I said I was gonna take nothing but running backs, but there's one dude on the board that I think could just be fucking game changer for Superflex, and I'm just gonna do it.
You lied to us.
Jalen fucking Milroe, because that dude, I don't know if you guys saw the preseason highlights, but sure looked a lot like the shit he was doing in Alabama, man. He was running all over the field, never got caught from behind. That dude is lightning in a bottle, and I'm not too worried about Sam Darnold becoming the all-time Seahawks passing franchise leader. I think Milroe gets his shot, and when that dude gets his shot and he has a 100-yard rushing game, throws for a touchdown, his stock is going to be fucking nuclear. And at this last stage of a startup draft in a Superflex league, I don't give a fuck about grabbing Austin Eckler as another running back for my room. Give me the hot dart of Jalen Milroe.
Yeah. Again, at this point, you're looking at upside, and Milroe even if it's a 2-year wait behind Darnold. Milrow's got some great upside.
He can sit on my taxi this year if he never gets a start.
Yeah. Like I'm looking at some upside players for me. Again, I'm ignoring tight end right now. Upside for wide receiver. Marvin Mims, I think, has some good upside. You could say Demario Douglas for the Patriots has potential upside. And then you're looking at a lot of guys that have some, but not amazing stuff that I want to get here. Running back, you're looking at all backups here. Giddens is a backup. Dowdle might be a decent backup. Algier, this is the point, 13th, 14th. If you have Bijan, you should be taking Algier just because Algier is going to get you 10 plus points anytime Bijan isn't playing. Woody Marks is not a bad spot down here, depending. But I think this is where I'm going to get a quarterback too. Again, even looking at projections, Rodgers is projected 50 more points than Russell. I don't know if I believe that. Aaron Rodgers looked very rough last year. Granted, Russ could not play as much. Rodgers has more weapons. So it's a coin toss here of kind of who I want. I think I'm going to go Rodgers no, I'm going to go Russell Wilson here. I think Rodgers has said this is his last year. Sure, it's my QB3, but at least Russ has a little more potential has a rushing upside a little. Rodgers can't move at all. That at least I have more of a ceiling, in my opinion, going Wilson as my QB3 if I really need someone to kind of boom. Whereas, Rodgers just looked a shell of himself last year. And I have no idea who I'm going with my last pick. Again, I'm not going tight end. I went my QB3. In reality, if I wanted to potentially get value, I would look and see, okay, who has 2 quarterbacks right now? You got 1 team, 2 teams, 3 teams.
My third doesn't really count. I have 2 quarterbacks. I got Jalen Milrow as the third.
Yeah, 5 teams that have 2 quarterbacks. If I wanted to go a potential value game, I would go Rodgers again here, or just so someone who needed one come a bye week or injury would come to me and I'd squeeze a little more out of them. Really, the 2 I'm looking at here would be Rodgers or Woody Marks. Woody Marks just because of that, again, potential depending on Mixon and Chubb if he can really go.
A huge thing to point out is that we're in any normal Dynasty league, you have more than 5 bench spots. You have like 15, 25 bench spots. So that being said, we're not drafting our normal bench here. We're drafting 5 bench players to kind of help balance out what we drafted as a starting lineup. I say that to say that in this exact team that I drafted, I would also be taking someone like Rodgers or Shuck or Wilson, somebody that has a Flacco, somebody like that to be like a starting quote unquote third quarterback. I would also probably draft one, if not both, of my main quarterbacks backups. Yep. I would draft a bunch of more dart throw running backs, things like that. Some rookie and scratch off ticket type receivers. But because we have 5 bench spots, my bench is going to be Godwin, Dobbins, Stevenson, Milrow, and probably like one last running back here. So there would also I wouldn't only carry Travis Kelce. I guarantee you, knowing me, I'd also have Hunter Henry and Chigga Conquell on this team because those are just my go-tos for tight ends that you can draft for cheap in Dynasty. So this is a great exercise. It's fun to do. I want to shout out everybody, all the admins and fucking fan dudes that stayed all active and didn't let anything get auto-picked and did this for us so we could have a fucking cool live mock draft episode. This is not shocking to me how my team turned out, that I, kind of heavied up on quarterback, running back, and receiver mainly. I didn't heavy up on running back. It's going to be light for me, as it almost always is coming out of a startup, unless it's points per carry and the running back warp is super high. I'm never fucking spending a bunch of capital on running back. It's going to be quarterback. It's going to be receiver. it's going to be these positions that matter for longer and win you more titles. So
Yeah.
I like my squad. I kind of like everybody's squad to a degree, man. And, draft sharp people here, so not surprised.
Everyone's squad really has merit. And yeah, if we're going longer, I probably would have taken Woody Marks there and hoped Rogers made it to the 16th. More than likely, Woody Marks' ADP is going to be much above Rogers. But yeah, I mean, looking there, you got a lot of teams that have 2 quarterbacks. I'm sure come week 8, someone would come knocking at my door offering a second, or I could squeeze a second for Wilson and Rogers in a third and squeeze some value out of someone who really needs it. That right now the values would have been taking Woody Marks, but there's a lot of potential for me to have that backup or get someone to come begging to me to get value later on. Going those 2.
I probably would have taken Woody Marks would have been my target, given that I had Mixon there. He's a nice, easy fill in. But now that he's gone, I would have leaned Jerome Ford. Well, do we just get word that Judkins is not in trouble, or
he's not in trouble.
So given that, I'm pretty sure he'll end up getting signed, and Jerome Ford becomes like a backup / afterthought. So looking at the rest of these running backs, at least the top ones I'm looking at here, I think the one guy that can be in every week help for me / just someone you could pop into a flex or an emergency RB2 spot is Austin Eckler.
Yeah,
I think he just clearly has a role with that team. The longer McLaurin holds out, even more of a role for him. Eckler did fine last year. I very much recall starting him a few times and not being terribly disappointed. So yeah, just last little piece of this messy RB room that I drafted.
Yeah, and especially if your team does punt yards or return yards, Eckler's they're looking at Eckler doing that for them. That would be good. Get the last pick.
Last pick, I got 3 spots, 1 person. If we had deeper benches, I would go running back all the way from here on out. It's these 2nd and 3rd string guys that when everybody's out of fab in week 13, hopefully you've already secured these guys. There's running backs take a beating. It's very rare the team you draft is the team you end up with. I love backup running backs here. Ollie Gordon looked really good last week. A lot of people said he might be the next Raheem Mostert. A-Chain's held up well, but I like Ollie Gordon. I like Jalen Coker. Cokeheads is a funny nickname. Always you could incorporate that into a good team name. But my last pick, I think he led the NFL in yards after contact and is 1 injury away from a lead back role, Rico Dowdle.
I like it. Yeah, and again, thanks to everyone who stayed up late to join this mock draft for all of us, all of the Fantasyholic admins, all of the followers of the page who jumped in. It's much appreciated for something like this, and we'll be doing a redraft run come up in a week or 2 as well, as redraft is really starting to pick up. I know my redraft leagues, we draft really late. We draft the weekend before week 1. So
even that's too early.
Yeah. So we'll hopefully be getting you one of those coming up soon in the next few weeks to get an idea. But it's never too early, too late to do anything Dynasty related. And that's why we wanted to kind of bring you this to give you an idea of what some of us who are spamming drafts, who are doing a lot of research, what we're really looking at and seeing for these values, who we think could be higher than other people who we're fading. You can really see tight ends faded here that take that into account of maybe don't take tight end early, maybe take some of these guys that we're taking sooner instead of those tight ends and get you that value on that team to make that difference, to get you out of that startup draft ahead of your league mates instead of on the same level as them.
Don't just follow ADP, follow your gut.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Definitely.
Most definitely.
This was a good time, man. I'm super happy it went without a hitch. Awesome for everybody to just like stay active and participating, and this would be a competitive as hell league. Nobody really punted year one. Usually also another thing to point out is a lot of the time in real money startup drafts, you've got 2, if not 5 teams that are just punting year one, drafting like straight quarterbacks or trading all their picks for future first, things like that. So this is, you don't really see this play out a lot in a real money startup, but this was a very good clean startup. I mean, tier 1 RB or tier 1 QB at the end, you see that a lot. You see people just draft straight youth for a while that don't necessarily go for it year one. So that helped balance this out. I don't think anybody here really went the other direction either. Nobody just went old crusty, have to win year one.
Yeah.
Good balance, man. I enjoyed it. It was a fun exercise.
Yeah. Very good to see.
Awesome.
Sweet.
I got last thing before we go. Got to point out, not wear a wrestling shirt this week. I wore the Devontae Smith bomb that ended it in the Super Bowl shirt. I'll probably go back to a wrestling shirt this week, or next week. But this was just the most targeted advertising shirt that ever happened. So I bought it. Slim Reaper for life, baby.
I love it. Look forward to some great content with us coming up. As I mentioned, we're looking at a redraft mock live coming up soon. We're going to be mentioning our hot takes on the season, talking about rookies coming up soon, and much, much more. We'll be releasing earlier in the week come NFL season. I know this is when we usually record, and it's Thursday Night Football. So we'll be getting you episodes out sooner and earlier in the week to really dive into each week. And again, 3 weeks from now, week 1 starts. Can't wait.
Definitely. And we'll be more redraft focused from now into the season. Once the season starts, just football is football. We'll certainly touch on the differences of redraft and, Dynasty. But, once the points start getting scored for real, we're much more focused on what's happening in the moment, in that week, what happened at practices that day, what happened with the depth charts and coach speak and all that shit. So
what happened in the courts?
We're here for you, baby. Let's fucking go.
Yeah. Awesome. Have a great night, everyone.
Have a good one.
Easy. Peace.
See ya.